Hello and welcome back to the Web Canopy Studio Show. I'm your host, Tom Andrews, and we are once again joined by Elizabeth Winkleman. And today we're going to talk about how to use HubSpot to improve your customer experience. Let's begin. Elizabeth, welcome back again. The second consecutive episode. This is your lucky day, isn't it? And when I say lucky day, listeners, you're listening to this probably a week apart, whereas we are actually filming this like 5 minutes apart. So, but we're in the zone, we're in the groove. And when you're in that groove, you do not want to
just
lose
keep
it.
Going.
Exactly, to keep it going. So, last episode, we spoke about sales and how sales teams can effectively use HubSpot to essentially speed up their processes, streamline things, and make more sales because you can then have more time selling. This time, we're going to be looking into like the wider business operations, how to improve the customer experience, because it's fancy, isn't it, talking about sales and marketing and ways to bring new customers on board. What a lot of companies don't talk about as much, and it's crazy really, because it's ultimately the most important part of business is keeping your customers, your existing customers and clients, very happy. So, as we're going to discover in this call, HubSpot is really great for doing that. So, Elizabeth, do you want to just kick us off with 3 ways you can use HubSpot to improve the overall customer experience?
Yeah, absolutely. My number one for me is actually what we talked about last time. Remember when we were talking about the niche and figuring out your target audience? You obviously could sell to anyone and anyone could use your product. And I'm just going to speak in the terms of like the SaaS world for software, right? Because there's definitely some platforms that aren't like as flexible, you know what I mean? And they have a niche audience or something like that. Like I'm thinking of like payroll and HR, for example. I come from a payroll and HR software background, so that's an easy one for me to bring into the conversation. But I think that one is an easy one to figure out because everybody knows that there's different industries that have different, especially timekeeping and then pay rules, right? Like healthcare is different than, retail or whatever like that. But anyway, if you know your target audience, then you're going to go after those leads that fit that target audience. And therefore that will, increase customer satisfaction, things like that, because your staff will be more knowledgeable and your product will be a better fit, right? And your sales team knows how to talk to them, blah, blah, blah. But I think HubSpot in particular has a little bit of an advantage over most platforms because the contact record in HubSpot is king, right? It's the superpower. It's the ultimate. It's like, what's the big, huge, it's like Superman, it like just, it rules all kind of. If we're going to talk DC, I think that's kind of a bad example, but that's okay. We're just going to roll with it.
We'll go with it, Superman.
Because if you're using HubSpot, and let's say you're using the whole HubSpot suite, so we're talking service, sales, marketing, content, I'm forgetting some hubs, but you guys get where I'm going. You can see all the hubs. You can see it's total data transparency on a record. You can even see integrations and things like that inside of HubSpot. So you can see where the lead came from originally. Was it a form submission? Was it a paid ad? Was it added by someone? Something like that. You can see what they've interacted with on your website. So if your website's in HubSpot, you can see, what they've clicked on, what they've downloaded, emails they've opened, things like that. Again, you don't have to have that data in HubSpot, but if you do, it's even better. And you can add external sites like with the tracking code and stuff like that, which I recommend. But anyway, let's say that then moves over to sales. You can see that whole sales history on the record. As long as it's tracked in HubSpot, you can see it. But then that also, trickles into the service team. Once that deal becomes closed won and that person moves from, prospect to client, that whole track record is there. You can even take notes on personality, indicate who's the primary contact there, who's, a billing contact, for example, like don't talk to Elizabeth about billing. You need to talk to Tom. You know what I mean? And so that way you don't have to get in touch with the wrong person and waste somebody's time if there was a question or whatever, or if somebody submits a ticket, something like that. But now it's a great segue into tickets and Service Hub. I actually really like Service Hub inside of HubSpot because of that data transparency. Anybody at any time could log in and see, as long as their user permissions allow for it, what's been happening on a ticket. You can see how long it's being, been worked on, who's working on it, anything like that. You can require like a resolution reason or something like that with a property inside of HubSpot. And so by having all that information in HubSpot and then setting the expectation that your team, before they contact a client, looks at those records. And you remember we talked about that summarize with AI before?
Yep.
This is a perfect use case for that. If you're new to this team, or you're like, I have 100 clients that I need to manage, I don't remember all of them, use the summary tool inside of HubSpot to help you out. Then you can like, oh yeah, that's it. Because even at high level, it's just going to like jog your memory and be like, oh yeah, this client. Okay, I get it now.
Elizabeth, do you want to just go over again how the AI tool works, just in case if people didn't listen to that previous episode?
Yeah. So on a contact record or a ticket record, there's an actions drop down where you can go and hit summarize. I think it says summarize with ChatSpot or something like that. And it'll open up in a new window. And what it does is it reads the information, anything that's logged and tracked on that record. And then it'll just give you a summary of things on that record. And
it's that easy.
It's that easy. And it's a game changer. Like that would have been really great because like a perfect example was when I took over a role for someone at my previous employer, right? I had to get up to speed really quick with prospects, clients, things like that, because I was managing both the sales team and the account managers. And it took hours. I'm not exaggerating. This is not an exaggeration. It's not like a fishing story where I went fishing and the fish gets bigger every time. It literally took hours for me to figure out, data things. Like obviously data quality and integrity is a thing, but most of it was in HubSpot. But because I wasn't familiar with it, I had to go and read all of these email trails. And I would have loved to have had a summarize with AI. It's like Cliff Notes. You remember those? Did you you have those in England, Cliff Notes?
Yeah, Cliff Notes, like at the end of a almost a TLDR, is it? Is that how they say it? Yeah.
I think so. Maybe. I don't know.
Is that a Reddit thing or... It's something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember. But yeah, it's just a summary and it helps. It's awesome. I love it. But
how much time do you think that would have saved you then? Obviously hours, but
hours.
Roughly literally. Are we talking 10 hours?
Easily, yeah. In the beginning.
Wow.
Like over time you figure it out and you learn it. But in the beginning, yes, especially for some of our larger clients. I mean, again, this was, use case specific, but I feel like every company has that, where you have some clients that are super easy to work with and it's very clear what you're doing. And then others where they kind of like, they change the ballgame a little bit. They flex the scope of the agreement. You know what I mean? Like they I don't want to say take advantage because that's had negative connotations. Manipulate. How about that?
Yep. Yeah.
Stretch you. But anyway, yeah. But the last one, because I think you said 3, right?
Yep. 3's the magic number.
Yeah. Customer portal in HubSpot. That's what I'm going to say, because that will give your customers the power to log their own tickets. And guess what? They don't have to contact you. Will you get some bogus ticket submissions? Probably. But they can go in, they can log their own ticket. They can email you right from that portal. It comes into your HubSpot help desk. You can email them. You can also have private comments. So the comment tool inside of help desk is internal HubSpot users only. So it never is client facing. So like, let's say a client messages on the ticket, asks for a status, but I know Tom's working on it. I can mention Tom and get his feedback in a comment and then reply to the client. And it's that fast.
Yeah, and that's going to save you so much time going back and forth, isn't it? If you just did that over email, then you've got to explain, oh no, it's Tom doing this, and CC him in or me in. And it's just going to go all over the place potentially, and the email thread's going to get lost. Suddenly, all it takes then is one person to forget to go reply to all, and then everyone else in the thread forgets it. So just having the ticketing system is just so important. I also think it conveys you're more professional if you have a ticketing system as well. Because generally I find that bigger organizations have that in place. So if you've got that as well, this might just be from my personal point of view. Maybe not everyone feels this way, but I feel subconsciously, okay, there's a ticketing system there. They've probably got quite a lot of employees. They probably know what they're doing. I'm not dealing with like some amateur business here. I'm dealing with professionals, and just having that in place, even just for that reason, let alone the other reason you said, is really, really powerful. So when it comes to moving to HubSpot, migrating to HubSpot, in the last episode, we spoke about challenges that you might have with sales reps if you're a sales manager, like pushing back on coming over to HubSpot. In terms of customer experience, the customer experience team, or maybe not even the customer experience team solely, but pretty much everybody within the company, because in some capacity, they're all going to have a role in the overall customer satisfaction experience.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Do you find, or have you found, with a real example here, without mentioning names, a lot of companies are resistant to changing to HubSpot because they're actually quite happy with how things are going? And then have you found a way that when they did come over, that they were like, wow, we're getting so much more done, our own clients are way happier, and like this was the best move ever? So have you got an example, without giving any details away, of that happening?
Yeah, not specifically. Most of the time what happens is when I'm working with clients is they don't realize there's a customer service side to HubSpot.
Okay.
Or they don't realize that the Service Hub is as robust as it is. They just think it's kind of amateur hour.
Okay, so have you found then that no one's ever come to HubSpot, in your experience? I'm sure there are cases of it, but no one really comes to HubSpot for Service Hub, but when they're there and then you introduce it to them, then they realize, wow, this is actually really good and a great add-on for the reason why we came in the first place.
Yeah, it is. Typically, it's one of those like, wow, I didn't know that. That's not my decision to make. I can bring it to that team type concept. But yeah, it's usually just a discovery thing where they don't realize that service actually is a really critical piece of HubSpot. And that there's so many bells and whistles you get just with Service Hub. Like I mentioned, Customer Portal. There's also Knowledge Base, not to be confused with HubSpot's Knowledge Base, but they actually have a Knowledge Base tool where you can build a resource library out and do help docs and things like that, and gather data on who's reading what articles, and then figure out if you need more content, less content, you know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah, that's
There's
so cool.
chat flows you can put on your website, forms, like I'm forgetting something really important right now, I'm sure of it, but there's so many different things inside of Service Hub in particular. And you can, I know what I was forgetting. You can use those same like sales tools that I mentioned earlier for your service team. So you can do playbooks for service. You can do snippets, templates, have sequences for service teams if you wanted to. Like at a previous employer, we actually used HubSpot sequences to send out tips and tricks emails to our clients to get more out of their portal. So we made it, platform agnostic on what piece of our software you had. It was like, did you know that your payroll software could do this too? And then we would show them something. Or in, at certain times of the year, you would do like, a special little video or something on how to enter a bonus paycheck. You know what I mean? Or how to make a payroll adjustment or a paycheck adjustment or something like that.
That's so cool because people in business have this idea that emails are great for bringing in new business, but then as soon as that client is on board, they kind of forget to do it, and they'll only correspond with that client when it's important, when you've got a meeting with them or whenever. But having that sequence in place that actually provides value once they become a client, that's huge. And it's just that little added value that is going to make them appreciate working with you a whole lot more. And it's going to set you apart from other agencies. And what you're saying there literally backs up the fact that the main thing people say is when you come to HubSpot, you can then get rid of pretty much most, if not all, of the other tools you're using and the other pieces of software you're using, because most of it, like I say, if not all of it, is there in HubSpot, even if you don't know about it when you actually move across. So, Elizabeth, let's end that one there because I think we've given some really great value. I think we should get you on again next time. I think the listeners love having you on. And I know that because when I put snippets from or clips, should I say, not snippets, to be confused with the tool we spoke about in the
don't
last
say
episode.
snippets.
Yeah.
We need like a foghorn when you say a HubSpot term in a non-HubSpot sentence.
Exactly.
We should get sound effects. So John Aiken, if you're listening, we need like a sound effects app.
Yeah. Or like a giant hand just like come and slap him a wrist.
Smacks you.
Yeah. Boom.
How funny would that be if there was a hand that just came and smacked you while you were in a podcast? Just like.
I think that's a great business idea there.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. Just if Elon, if you're listening, I'm sure Elon probably is listening to this. Obviously, why wouldn't he be? But yeah, I'm sure all 20 listeners are Elon's family as well. So yeah, done. So Elizabeth, I can tell actually from looking at the clips that the ones where you are on tend to get a lot of interaction. Like, it's your happy, smiley presence, as well as your fantastic knowledge. So the listeners, they will want you back. But for now, I hope you've had a great time listening to Elizabeth once again. She is honestly a fountain of knowledge and a great Harry Potter fan. So personally, Elizabeth is unbelievable. So thanks again, Elizabeth. And listeners or watchers, we'll see you soon.
Thanks.